Well, greetings everyone. Today, Sabbath day, I'd like to discuss a few things with you. I brought it out in ancient videos, of course, where it showed there were 10 ultimate goals of bringing America into communism. And at the time I brought it, all of it was already there. But the effect of this plan was brought out here Thursday, January 10th, 1963. So most of you weren't even born at the time that this was brought out here as part of the congressional record and entered into the appendix, the current communist goals. And this was brought out by extension remarks of Honorable A.S. Herlong, Jr. of Florida, in the House of Representatives, Thursday, January 10, 1963. And it says, Mr. Herlong, Mr. Speaker, Miss Patricia Nordman of DeLand, Florida, is an ardent and articulate opponent of communism, and until recently published the DeLand Courier, which she dedicated to the purpose of alerting the public to the dangers of communism in America. Back in 1963, she's reading these things into the record. At Miss Norman's request, I include in the record, under unanimous consent, the following current communist goals, which she identifies in excerpt from The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen. Now, before we get into these things, I brought out before, why I don't vote. And there's a neat video that had just recently come out. This is from the KTLA 5 news, I suppose, live streamed on June 23rd, 2020, entitled for the subject matter is LA Councilman Jose Juez arrested, faces federal charges and pay-to-play corruption probe. Now, in here, this guy or this girl, I'm thinking it's a guy because you can't see any Adam Apple going on with the collar being worn. I'm sure we've seen these things going on before. But all of this is part of the corruption and the bringing down of America. Now, I want you to listen to what this lady says here, and I'm using it for educational purposes only. But I also wrote an email to her, and the response, which I knew was going to come, we'll get into that as well before we read off the very fact that the only thing we're missing basically from becoming completely as desired by the elite is a new world order. And you've heard the president speaking of these things through the years since 1963. And it was actually before then. It'll show, not in this video, of course. Well, the video I'm bringing forth, it'll show it. But in 1959 was when it was first brought forth. So take a listen to what this lady says about this corruption probe. And she's of the FBI. He's of the FBI. I don't know which way, because women can be men today and men can be women today, and some can be both, but according to their own opinions, scripturally we may differ in that type of reality, but it's all going to be depicted to you in what we were just reading from over here. The goals of this current communist society. So let's listen to what this lady says here and take it to heart.
The FBI utilized a wide range of federal tools to further this investigation. Scores of interviews and countless hours of surveillance were conducted. Dozens of search warrants were served, and tens of thousands of documents were analyzed. The FBI relies on the public and honest city officials to cooperate and report corruption when they suspect it. So I want to end by asking those with information about corrupt activity to please report it. Whether you're a city official witnessing a bribe, a business owner who was solicited and felt improperly pressured, or whether you have knowledge of corruption of public officials at any level, please contact the FBI. We have set up an email hotline to receive and directly address this information. That email is pctips-losangeles@fbi.gov. Again, pctips-losangeles@fbi.gov. This email...
All right. So she just said what to do if you see this kind of corruption and such. So I did here on July 9th at 3:23 p.m. I did write, and my subject matter is I have on the record prima facie evidence against even judges protecting felonious elected officials and or etc. And I say, well, greetings. I have to say, I don't believe you. I lost all faith in the United States of America Corporation and its Ronald McDonald Land CEOs. I contacted the FBI many times and they refused to even look into the matter, and in fact, I have prima facie evidence against Ted Cruz, who acts as a corrupt Texas senator, for at least violation of Title 18 U.S.C. Section 4, misprision of felony, as I contacted him, and then I show here by the way that I did contact him, it was 15-page long fax I sent saying, exposing much conspiracies and corruptions, even attempted murder. And well, Ted Cruz, acting as some sort of Texas senator of Texas, never even responded. But Ted Cruz isn't the only one who never responded, and therefore guilty of felonies against Title 18 U.S.C. Section 4, misprision of felony, which basically states that if you know of any commissioned or, felony to be commissioned, if you have knowledge of it and you do not contact a judge, someone in military authority or somebody under the jurisdiction to hear of these matters, if you don't report it, then you can go to prison and you can have fines put against you. So the same thing should result when these individuals are sent known commissioned felonies that were done by corrupt governmental elected employed public servants when they're acting in a felonious matter and it's reported, then action should be taken against them, just like they're trying to pretend over here on this little video how in Los Angeles they had this little problem going on. They're using, out of all the cities of the United States, this one little fellow is a little sheepish sacrifice, is basically what's going on, and I tell him so. Says, but Ted Cruz wasn't the only one who never responded, and therefore guilty of felonies against Title 18 U.S.C. Section 4, misprision of felony, because they were contacted, they were given information that cannot be refuted. These things are even in the court records as evidence. These are prima facie evidence of felonies that they've been covering up. It says, as they were made aware of commissioned felonies and conspired felonies, and they did absolutely nothing but cover up for each other, which is why the top officials lie and say nation of laws, horse manure. In fact, I also reported known commissioned felonies by elected and or employed officials, public servants, obstructing justice, abusing the official capacities of their offices, RICO Act violations, misappropriations of public, federal, as they get mixed, funds, and or etc. Not one human reply except for the appellate court of Texas, who wanted me to let me hire them to file an appeal. And there wasn't any appeal to file. I was reporting known commissioned felonies to them, and nobody cared. Even a church domicile was burned to the ground, never made the news in that corrupt state of Texas. And the arsonist, well, and the arsonist was well known in, well, no investigation whatsoever. Yeah, you would have to prove to me that there is any law at all in the United States of America before I believe your promise made on this here news. And I copied the link where this fella here is speaking right after she finishes where it's at. And I said, I could not believe my ears at around 16 minutes into this. And that's, of course, you know where this is here. It's now 17:18, but around 16 minutes into this, just to refresh your memory, it's 15:58.
To achieve justice for this city. The FBI utilized a wide range of federal tools to further this investigation.
Okay, and all that stuff, you know, but she got to where she wanted us to write about these felonies and everything being committed if we have knowledge, but they want to limit it right there to Los Angeles and not any of the other cities that these things took place in, because they want you to think that they're really right on top of this. They're using all the resources and everything for Los Angeles. The hell with everybody else. I mean, what I'm writing them here, it can't be denied. I'm showing it to you. I already sent this. This, as you see over here, is from my sent file. I sent this. I could not believe my ears at around 16 minutes into this. I think it was just a little sacrifice of one guy that needed to be sacrificed to appease the people and give them much more false hope that America is actually a country that upholds its laws. However, all I have is evidence, prima facie evidence, at that of conspiracies, RICO Act violations, misappropriations of public, federal, as they get mixed funds, obstruction to justice, jurisdiction violations, abuses of office, and so much more that I reported to those, I will copy and paste here, sent to them at least 3 times and not one single reply other than automated and then no follow-up, just cover-up from all of these. Now this here email I had sent out 3 times. I actually put $100,000 or a $10,000 bounty offer or $100,000 reward if you could just get me justice in America. And I put up in this video, or this email that I sent, there was about a minute click video on YouTube where I showed where they burnt my church and my domicile down and my vehicle up. And I blessed them for it, you know, and I forgave them right on the tape for doing so. It was about a minute long. And all I said was, I really hope that y'all's day's been better than mine, man. You know, they just let me out of jail after starving me for 44 days in solitary confinement. And here I come home to this, and they know who did it. But they won't even investigate it. Well, they deleted that video after I sent this out. It's the only thing any of these people throughout this area here had done to even let me know that they got my message was to have YouTube delete the video where I offered this reward afterwards. In the email, I do it in writing because but I also had a video they took down about the bounty and the offer as well. Forward. Third notice and claim of your personal liabilities, talking to all these in the emails, and $100,000 reward, $10,000 bounty offer for justice. I sent it all out to these people here. Okay, so anyway, right here is the end of that email. I didn't put in anything else. I was just showing them I sent an email to all these government, news, law enforcement agencies, even to the Texas Rangers. I sent, off all of these felonies being conducted in their state, and you can tell, they only take key interest cases just to appease the people, to make you think they're actually doing something for you. And it's all actually going against. But anyway, I finish up with the email to the FBI lady here. It says, now I would send you the emails I sent them, talking that one there, but call me silly, just don't even think that you will reply either, as you won't help a bit. Back in the early 90s, nor during the 2000s, nor the 2010s, and now it's the 2020s, and I don't see justice changing. Just offering up a little sheep here and there to appease the people, and there's a difference between a people with a capital P and the people with a small p. Okay, there is a difference. While this nation gets run into the ground and based on lies. Yay, nation of laws. Ha ha, so funny. But I will give you the shadow of doubt in this. After all, Enoch said that one day there would be an investigation for me. Maybe this will finally be it. Peace. And then I put down Rev Al-Yahnai Hawkins. I don't usually use my Rev in anything, because it's because I'm a health minister. A minister of health is what I am. Not anything to do with the Holy Scriptures whatsoever. In fact, it's a religionless organization that I'm a reverend of. I'll just say that. Anyway, aka Alan Douglas Fountain, I am probably on your terrorist watch list because I am a whistleblower and speak truth. P.S. Well, one thing that did get accomplished, YouTube removed my video of the church and domicile and vehicle that was burned up. Around 1 minute long it was, and well, for some reason they took down the video. But there is linked to that video in the email I had sent, and recipients above, I suppose, in my opinion, had YouTube take down the videos, or the video. It is all they done for me to clean up this filth. Some draining the swamp going on, eh? If you send someone to kill me, just make sure I'm dead when they leave, as I don't want to be just injured and yet have to wake up for another day of this crapola. Deal? So anyway, that's the email that I sent them. So, of course, I get the response from the FBI here. This is the where they said to send the email off to, and that's what I did. I sent that off to them, and they wrote back and said, thank you for your message. Your message will be reviewed for further actions as appropriate. This is an automatic reply. Tips provided to this account will not receive an individual response. Tips to this account are intended for matters related to allegations of recent public corruption activities in the Los Angeles area. In other words, anywhere else it comes from, we're not interested. We have our sacrifice, and when we bring down these rotten, corrupt government officials, everyone across the United States is going to believe we're doing everything in every other city, but every other city, they're just fine. And you can voice all you want around the little city you're at, because if you leave your city to go somewhere else and tell them, they're going to say, well, so what? Same stuff goes on here. So it's not going to be publicized except for one account to appease the people and let them think that, we're not America. It says, if you do, or if you have other matters to bring to the attention of the FBI, you can do so at this here tips and everything. And I've done that several times in the past and never got answered except for one of these things. It says, or contact your local FBI field office. Ever try to get into one of those? The one in Abilene, but I'll tell you what, they got locks in the doors like you wouldn't believe, and you can ring the doorbell all you want. They don't let you in. If you have an urgent law enforcement matter, contact your local police department or call 911 for emergencies. I think that's kind of like this year is almost like prejudicial stuff, man. This is, something that goes against Black Lives Matter. They want to dismember the police department. Why should, these people at the FBI even think that the police have anything to do with anything anymore, especially 911, when they disband, the police? I mean, somebody's got to get their stuff straight, and that's the reason why you need to consider these here goals. Please remember that everything's in our Father's hands. Albert Pike, I had discussed him before, where he had wrote a manifesto on their plan that led right up to these days we're living in right now. It was this manifesto of all these events that, the Masons and, of course, the others, the Vatican and all these great powers that are all of the superior corporation over that the United States of America's corporation is incorporated into and such. It's a corporation. It's not a country as we thought that it used to be. The whole way of life has changed. You have to pay taxes on your land now, meaning that you don't own the land that you think that you do own, and it's all been part of this. That manifesto that Albert Pike had sent out, the one courier, and he had sent off several copies, but one courier got struck with lightning in France, killed him, fried him. And when the French police went looking for some sort of identification, they had that book from Albert Pike, the manifesto, that these powers of the world it was sent out to would take and incorporate to bring about this new world order that's just now shaping up. But anyway, had they would have believed the manifesto when the authorities had read it, they could have deterred the French Revolution, but they didn't. Because they didn't believe. It was like a science fiction novel, basically, what they had planned, but all the other manifestos reached their points. And now with the current technology and everything that we have, everything is falling closer and closer into these rules and guidelines that were set back in 1963. They were read into the congressional record. Okay, and I'll leave the link for anyone that desires to see so. But let's read through these current communist goals and tell me if you've already seen it. You think that you saw it, but it was long ago when you was a child, or you've seen some of this when you was a kid or whatever. But remember, this was back in 1963, but the goals were originally brought out in 1959 to our leaders. It was just read into the congressional record here on 1963. I was born in 1959, but in 1958, I believe it was, is when they first brought it out. It'll say so in here, but it was before I was born. So my parents, they didn't think much about any of this. They weren't even informed of it. The things back then, unless it came out on a television, most anybody, was not going to receive a copy of what was spoken even 100 miles away from you. We weren't set up for it. We didn't have the technology. They just came out with that little dealie that's kind of like a photo machine that we have now, and it would ka-tunk, 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 and it would print a page out for use in schools and things of that sort. Otherwise, it was all handwritten. That's why they had so many forms and everything, because you couldn't just put it on a computer file and store it away or whatever, just print one out. Everything was on its own paper back in 1963. They didn't even have computers. Okay, so any knowledge or information you needed, that's why most every city had a library. We didn't have a computer. But we do now, and they had these things already figured out. They knew the technology that was coming, all sorts of things, and that's how now they're actually culminating everything together here to bring about the new state that America is in today. This may end up being his 2 videos. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But anyway, the first of the current communist goals, and that was current back in 1963. These were current in 1963. These are old school now for all of us that weren't informed of what's going to take place and is right now. You'll see what their goals were here, and you'll see it in your mind's eye as I speak it, the things that you've already seen on videos or newspapers and things of that sort while growing up since 1963, all the way up to maybe some of the things you saw on the news today. That's going on right now. Current communist goals. 1. U.S. acceptance of coexistence as the only alternative to atomic war. Now, back in 63, atomic war was, on everybody's mind. U.S. willingness to capitulate in preference to engaging in atomic war. 3. Develop the illusion. Develop the illusion that total disarmament by the United States would be demonstration of moral strength. Now, I'm sure that you've seen a lot of things that were brought about in Congress by the White House for, the illusion of total disarmament, or even partial, that'd be showing a great demonstration of moral strength. Permit free trade between all nations, regardless of communist affiliation and regardless of whether or not items could be used for war. And that's why you're voting every time a vote comes up. Your higher politicians have these federal licenses and such where they do a lot of this trading and selling for war. That's where, a lot of our problems are when you listen to the news and Ronald McDonald Land CEOs are up there saying, well, we're having a problem because, we're trying to sell these people these planes and ships and well, you're trying to give them a better deal than us. And I think we might just have to go to war against your asses. 5. Extension of long-term loans to Russia and Soviet satellites. 6. Provide American aid to all nations, regardless of communist domination. 7. Grant recognition of Red China. Admission of Red China to the UN. Sound anything familiar? Set up East and West Germany as separate states in spite of Khrushchev's promise in 1955 to settle the German question by free elections under supervision of the UN. Prolong the conferences to ban atomic tests because the United States has agreed to suspend tests as long as negotiations are in progress. Now, that we actually did slow down, on atomic tests. They started going nuclear. And then, of course, there's things, where we're not supposed to be testing nuclear weapons either, but it gets done, and it's a horrible shame to the earth, but it gets done. 10. Allow for Soviet satellites individual representation in the UN. Promote the UN as the only hope for mankind. I hope maybe the book of Revelation things are ricocheting off inside your gourd there as you're reading these things. Nope, this isn't the end of what I'm bringing out. This is just an abrupt ending of a continuation. I got up to 30 minutes there, so I've got to shut this down and look forward to part 2 where I'll pick up on this. Isn't it wild that I learned how to edit once I had a program that allows editing. And with that, my friends, I say bye, and don't forget to load up part 2. See you later. Bye.